This Week in Gaming with Naomi Kyle.
Hello, hope everyone had a great Labor Day weekend. I'm Naomi Kyle, and welcome back to This Week in Gaming. This week we're catching up on another video game movie team-up, Wukong's delayed Xbox release, a PlayStation title gets axed, an early access nightmare, and new PS5 Pro rumors. We've got all of this week's gaming news, so let's get started. As I reported last week, Black Myth Wukong has been breaking records on Steam and PS5. All the while, Xbox gamers have been left out. Since then, new rumors have surfaced that may finally shed some light on why Black Myth Wukong is still not on Xbox consoles. A popular Spanish leaker who goes by Ecstasis posted on Twitter last week claiming that they had spoken to several Xbox insiders and developers while at Gamescom. These sources told Ecstasis that Wukong was not passing testing due to a bug known as memory leak, which is responsible for causing crashes that could compromise the overall performance of Xbox consoles. But the drama doesn't stop there. Media outlets IGN and Forbes have been tipped off by a knowledgeable source who suggests that Ecstasis' post is inaccurate and that the real reason Black Myth Wukong is not on Xbox is actually due to a secret exclusivity deal between Sony and Game Science. There has been no comment from Sony or Game Science to corroborate this news story, and the frequently asked questions on Game Science's page still reads, "We are currently optimizing the Xbox Series X and S version to meet our quality standards. We apologize for the delay and aim to minimize the wait for Xbox users. We will announce the release date as soon as it meets our quality standards." Whatever the case may be, Black Myth Wukong is not the first game to suffer delays due to the Xbox Series hardware. The very talented Larian Studios ran into difficulties when trying to optimize Baldur's Gate 3 for Xbox. It was so difficult, in fact, that Larian had to cut split-screen co-op from the Series S version of Baldur's Gate 3 altogether to get Baldur's Gate 3 out the door. Because of this, I believe it is very likely that Game Science is telling the truth, and that Black Myth Wukong is simply too demanding, and it is likely that we could see some of the game's features be scaled back for Wukong to run smoothly on the Xbox Series S. We'll have to wait and see. Video game developer Remedy is teaming up with the independent media company Annapurna to produce movies and TV series based on the Control and Alan Wake video games. Annapurna has a reputation for making high-quality, award-winning movies like Her, American Hustle, and Pneumonia. They have also created powerful video game experiences like Cocoon, Outer Wilds, and What Remains of Edith Finch, making Annapurna, in my opinion, the perfect candidate to adapt Alan Wake and Control. And I'm not alone. Tero Virtala, CEO at Remedy, shared his thoughts about the partnership, saying, "In Annapurna, we have found an outstanding partner who shares our ambition and passion for immersive storytelling. We are excited to see them bring the universes and characters we have created to life in new mediums." There has been no mention by either company what medium either story will take. Both Alan Wake and Control could lend itself beautifully to animation, or as we have seen from Alan Wake 2, the live-action sequences feel right at home in the video game, and a live-action TV series could be the logical next step in the Alan Wake spiral. After just 2 weeks into their launch, PlayStation announced that their first-person hero shooter Concord will be shutting down service starting September 6th. The shutdown is due to the game's poor launch, with some reports suggesting that Concord sold as few as 25,000 copies. Yikes. Sony stated that all sales for Concord will immediately come to a halt and that full refunds will be offered to anyone who has purchased a copy of the game. At this time, it is difficult to say if Concord will come back as a free-to-play title, like the other games in its genre, or if PlayStation will take the L and write off Concord as another tax break. We'll have more on this story with our guest today, so stay tuned a little later on in the show. Ubisoft's latest title, Star Wars Outlaws, launched early last week and earlier still for many fans that had purchased the Gold Edition, allowing them to play the game 3 days early. Just 2 days into early access, Ubisoft put out a patch to fix bugs reported during the early access period. Unfortunately for players who owned the game on PS5, this patch would come with a catch. Updating their game could cause those playing on PS5 to encounter issues with their save, potentially making what was left of their playthrough unplayable. Ubisoft's solution to this? Make a new save. This solution made gamers very upset. Ubisoft was asking them to lose hours of progress just for an update. And to make matters worse, this was affecting players who had just paid $100 to play the game early. Fearing that this could negatively affect their user score on Metacritic, Ubisoft quickly went on damage control and offered affected players a Trailblazer trinket and 100 Ubisoft Connect points. But for many, this offer from Ubisoft was worthless, adding further insult to injury. One Redditor who goes by the name 00 Schneider commented, "I lost 15 hours of progress. Today I was forced to start over. It sucks that they couldn't just release a hot fix. The compensation for it is laughable. At least they could have given us some materials to upgrade our vehicles and the blaster a little faster. But the game is still fun, and I hope no other game-breaking bugs appear." On the bright side, it sounds like the gamers are still having fun and that the patch was a big upgrade, enhancing the game's visuals while maintaining a relatively high frame rate of 40 frames per second. Hopefully in the future, developers like Ubisoft can lock down important game elements before charging their player base a premium just to play the game a little early. As we've previously shared, Gamescom is a great place for developers and the public to get together and share their love for video games, but it's also especially great for the spread of rumors. According to the Gamescom grapevine, Sony is gearing up to launch an upgraded version of the PS5 console as soon as within the next few months. If the rumors are true, the PlayStation 5 Pro, code-named Trinity, is set to bring some serious upgrades. Boosts to the graphics processing power, better ray tracing, more memory, a detachable physical disk drive, and a whole lot more. But the big upgrade will apparently be the promise of 4K gaming at up to 120 frames per second for select titles. While nothing is confirmed yet, folks predict that Sony could announce the PS5 Pro as early as September, with a release potentially following in November. For gamers, this could be the next big thing, bringing new power, new capabilities to their favorite titles, or it could be too big, too soon for the average gamer. But first, we'll have to wait and see if these rumors are in fact true. Luckily, our guest this week is the perfect person to ask about this, so stay tuned after this.
Games out this week.
Yes, it's now time to go over the video games releasing this week. On September 3rd, Parcel Core, Prison Architect 2, and the casting of Frank Stone releases on PS5, PC, and Xbox Series X and S. Star Trucker makes a pit stop on PC and Xbox Series X and S, and is a day one release on Xbox Game Pass. GT Manager releases on PC and Android. Harry Potter Quidditch Champions casts a charm on all platforms. On September 4th, we get Age of Mythology Retold, releasing on PC and Xbox Series X and S, and is a day one release for Xbox Game Pass subscribers. Then on September 5th, Starwave cruises exclusively onto the VR console MetaQuest. And finally, on September 6th, NBA 2K25 dunks onto all platforms. Ace Attorney Investigations Collection releases on PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. Perennial Order releases on PS5, PC, and Xbox Series X and S. And Astrobot touches down exclusively on the PS5. The Epic Games Store is offering 2 free games this week. Football Manager 2024 and Sniper Ghost Warrior Contracts will be available for download from September 5th until the 12th. And last but not least, PlayStation Plus subscribers can claim 3 titles this month: MLB The Show 24, Little Nightmares 2, and Harry Potter Quidditch Champions. These games will be free to download from September 3rd until the 30th.
Quest complete.
And that's the news for this week. It's now time to chat with our guest, Gene Park, who joins us to discuss the controversy surrounding Concord and speculate on the recent PS5 Pro rumors.
Select game mode. Multiplayer.
Hey, Gene. It's so good to have you on the show. Welcome. We have quite a bit of news to talk about today. I hope you're ready.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Appreciate the invite, Noemi.
Of course. So the big news that just dropped as we were recording this, Concord, it's a new game that just came out. It's officially, Concord, the dev has decided to pull the game offline. Players are being refunded. Can you shed some light on why Firewalk Studios decided to make this move? Or what's your speculation around it?
Yeah, I think so much has been said about the reasons why Concord hasn't really struck a chord, so to say, with the audience. The prevalent reasons being that a lot of people attribute it to the $40 price tag, which I disagree with, although there is some wisdom to that because Concord is a quote-unquote hero shooter, a genre that is now populated with very popular games like Overwatch 2, and the upcoming Marvel Rivals, both of which are free. So that does play a factor. Then there's the fact that there's no real central hook besides this is the game. This is a game within the genre. There's no real spin to it. So it was really, really hard to understand. Concord's and I've been playing Concord quite a bit for the last few weeks because I want to give the game a fair shot, right? But the game itself, its most unique game mode, rivalry mode, is very, very complex to explain or even understand. Way too complex for me to even break down on this show. But it's not particularly interesting, and you can see that when you actually try to play the mode in Concord, nobody's playing that mode. Everybody hates it. Everybody either hates it or they don't understand it. So they are sticking to the traditional multiplayer modes, which are very, very boring gameplay-wise, which are just team deathmatch and controlled zones and stuff like that. So I think it's really just a factor of just a game just really failing to distinguish itself from a gameplay perspective, from a visual perspective. I've always made the argument that Concord really, really tried to apply what some people call the Sony prestige over it by adding a lot of expensive facial motion capture and really using cinematics as one of its main marketing points. And indeed, it is one of the main marketing points. It's one of the selling features when they announced the game in State of Play 2 months ago. And in the PlayStation blog post where they talk about the game, they're saying, look forward to the weekly vignettes. And I just before this interview, I actually just hopped off the game to watch the third week and probably the last one we'll ever see. And even these weekly vignettes have a very, very odd tone to them that don't really compel me to want to learn more. They have this very Friends sitcom-like atmosphere where the North Star, the spaceship, is just their New York apartment, and these guys are just kind of hanging around and they're just kind of saying, non sequitur jokes, and there's no real cliffhanger, there's no real central story thread or anything like that. We're just kind of getting to know the characters, which is fine. Except that the characters aren't very interesting in the first place either. So right. There's just really a lot going against this game, other than the fact that, and you can read this in every review, that the game is technically sound, that the game plays well, and is largely because Firewalk Studios has developers with great resumes and great CVs, having formerly worked on Call of Duty and Destiny and Halo.
Yeah. And so that begs the question, what does this mean for the future of Firewalk Studios? Do you think other devs can learn from this mistake? Do you think Firewalk Studios is, what's the next thing after having to take down the game that they invested over $200 million to make?
Look, it's awful. Well, here's what I'll say first. The game was apparently in development since 8 years. I think a hard 6 years since Firework came into existence. So let's just say that they've been working on it 6 years. A lot of people say, oh, they wasted their time for 6 years. Let's not forget the fact that these people were employed, gainfully employed, and hopefully having fun making this game for the last 6 years. Yeah. So I wouldn't want to call, I feel like it's weird and strange to speak for these developers when, they were working on this game. That said, it is very disappointing for the culmination of that work to end with this result. So what should happen to Firework? I don't know. Of course, I wouldn't want any layoffs or studio closures. That's always a risk, especially with a project this expansive and a project that took that much time. I don't know how much more time they have left, but I hope they can. I hope Sony has the benevolence and forgiveness to be able to give them more time to kind of figure this game out. get back to it. Offer something a little bit more interesting. Overwatch, again, was a game that's very, very popular and very, very similar. But Overwatch tried to, they kind of promise a player versus enemy aspect of it, right? Where it's not just players versus players all the time. And then they canceled it. And then, obviously that cancellation happened earlier this year. So way too soon for a team like Firewalk to pivot and create something new. But this could be an opportunity. Maybe they can see, hey, Overwatch dropped the ball in this one. So maybe we can do something better. Because a lot of people were looking forward to something more campaigny and story-driven in Overwatch. And they just didn't deliver. Unfortunately, I don't think Concord is the game to deliver something that Overwatch didn't. And instead, it kind of offered more of the same. And that was the issue.
Yeah. I'm hopeful to see that Firewalk might have a second chance at this. That they release it later on. They take some time back to the drawing board and see what they can make happen. If there's perhaps a second chance, No Man's Sky ran into this. Many games have had a second wave of popularity. So I'm hoping that Firewalk can do that. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how this turns out. So pivoting a little bit here, but we're still on the topic of Sony. So PS5 Pro rumors have been circling. What are your thoughts on the PS5 Pro in general? Do you think it's a good time for a new upgraded PS5 at this point in the cycle?
I think introducing the concept of a PS5 Pro today is a little different from when it was back in 2018, 2017, when the PS4 Pro came out, because that was during the advent of 4K TVs, and now a nice chunk of us have 4K TVs, and we understand what HD looks like. So kind of that sheen has kind of polished off. It really is just kind of like a horsepower race, and that stuff kind of diminishes in value over time. That said, there is still a game coming out pretty soon, Grand Theft Auto 6, which promises to be very demanding on our consoles and isn't going to be on PC. And I think, if Sony, I'm sure Sony is trying to money hat some kind of marketing deal with Rockstar to say that, hey, this is the best place to play Grand Theft Auto 6. And, personally, anecdotally, I bought a PS4 Pro back then, and then Red Dead Redemption 2 came out, and I wanted to play Red Dead Redemption 2 on a PS4 Pro. Unfortunately, I thought the resolution was low enough that I was not having a great time. And then I heard the Xbox One X version of Red Dead Redemption 2 actually had it in 4K. So I didn't even have an Xbox One at all. And so the Xbox One X was really my return to the Xbox ecosystem. And I had a great time, in discovering all these great games like Crackdown 3 and Rise, games that a lot of people just didn't give a chance. But I got to play 4K Red Dead 2. So I think there is a really, really compelling, personally speaking, there is a really compelling argument to want to play the latest Rockstar game. One that we don't get very often anymore, thanks to developer cycles being so long these days. Again, we just talked about Concord being 68 years, and Grand Theft Auto 6 has been worked on. Well, it's been about 11 years since the last game,
over
right?
a decade. Yeah,
over a decade. So obviously we got Red Dead Redemption 2 in between that, but. The arrival of Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be a monumental and historical event for the entire industry, and timing that with the PS5 Pro would be smart. But that said, though, this is the generation of this console has no games. I think the meme can apply. I think the meme can apply to both consoles, although both consoles do have a respectable amount of games. So this is a tougher ask. This is a generation that is generally less exciting than the one we had before, and I think part of that comes from this year. This year in particular isn't that exciting in terms of releases, especially compared to 2023, which was very, very busy and very, very exciting for so many people.
Well said. We'll see if the PS5 Pro appeals to also like the more casual player. It probably won't. This is for people who take that sort of stuff extremely seriously. Maybe they want to upgrade for the GTA 6 release.
Mhm.
What are you playing these days, real quick? Is there anything that's got you excited that you've just been obsessed with?
That's a tough question. I am actually
You're always playing something.
Yeah, I'm actually playing Astro Bot right now. I can't say anything. I can say that I'm playing it. I don't know when this is gonna air, so but I am playing that.
Okay.
I've been playing Devil May Cry series. Actually, I've been doing a marathon of them. Partially, it's because of Black Myth Wukong, which I just finished last week, and I had a really good time with that. I didn't think that it was that good at first, but then it ended really, really strongly, and it made me start thinking about the history of, quote unquote, character action games. Action games that give you a lot of moves. Games like God of War and Devil May Cry. I really wanted to go back to the origin of this 3D action game genre, which was Devil May Cry, and I've been having a really, really great time. But I play the Devil May Cry games usually once a year anyway, so it's about that time.
I love that. Well, Gene, always such a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for coming on the show. I hope you'll be back sometime. We've got some more episodes in the future, but I know you're a busy man, so thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show.
Naomi Kyle, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Gene Park is a video game critic and reporter for The Washington Post. You can follow him on Twitter @GenePark.
Flawless victory! Continue!
And that's This Week in Gaming. I'm your host, Naomi Kyle, and I had such an amazing time bringing you the news this week. Thank you so much for listening, and thanks to my co-writer, Josh Seaman, who helps put the show together every week. Don't forget to let me know what you're playing and what you think about these stories by tagging me @Naomi Kyle on social. From all of us here at This Week in Gaming, we wish you a gaming-filled week. We'll see you again, same time, same place. Talk to you later.
This Week in Gaming is an iHeartRadio Canada podcast. Subscribe to this podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. Download the iHeartRadio app for more podcasts just like these.